What's going on, guys? Hope you guys are having a great Monday. I wanted to come on here and give you my 2024 to 25 season recap. I had one originally, but then we made some changes, obviously. I believe it was the day after we beat the Steelers in week 18. But yeah, I wanted to come on here and just talk about what my general thoughts on the season are and what I think that we need to do. And I'll just give you pretty much a quick dump of everything Bengals related. I mean, to be honest with you, I can't say that I'm happy with the season. I mean, I'm happy with the finish, but I can't say I'm happy about the entire season because if you don't make the playoffs, especially with guys on offense having career years and just, I dare I say, all-time great winning seasons, and that just goes to waste because we don't make the playoffs. No, I can't be happy with the season, honestly. But, a 5 game winning streak to close it out, and got rid of some coaches on the defensive side, and then we got rid of our offensive line coach and Frank Pollock. So that's a positive. That's something that we needed. I mean, I'll always appreciate what Lou did for this franchise, and he brought us to a Super Bowl. He got us a conference championship. The defense, I would say, is the biggest reason why we went to the Super Bowl in 2021. So all the credit and love and respect in the world to, it's kind of like Brian Callahan. I mean, I appreciate what he did, but I just think it was time to move on. And Lou's scheme just wasn't working. I mean, it was coming along at the end, but the problem with him is he didn't make adjustments early on in the season. So, that's just kind of my 2 cents on it. But, fourth place schedule, Trey Hendrickson, he led the league in sacks, a triple crown for Jamar Chase, MVP numbers from Joe Burrow, probably would have been MVP if we make it. No playoffs, and we're picking 17th in the draft. I don't like it. I'm not happy at all. This team, quite frankly, should be ashamed of themselves because you win one more game and maybe a little luck tilts your favor, you're in a completely different and much better situation in terms of making the playoffs. So, yeah, I'm not happy with this team. I'm not happy with the results. Honestly, we beat the Patriots in week 1. I mean, you could call that a fluke all you want, being week 1 of the season and all that, but we have no one to blame but ourselves. I mean, all these people getting on the Chiefs. Oh, the Chiefs, they threw the game against the Broncos. No, they didn't, first of all. And second of all, I mean, they've earned the right to rest their starters. Clinch the number 1 seed. They're trying to go for a three-peat, which I'm just going to tell you, I would rather have them three-peat over the Ravens winning the Super Bowl. I know a lot of people are against the Chiefs winning it. If the Chiefs and Ravens, they go at each other in conference championship week, I'll pull for Kansas City. I'm not rooting for the Ravens. But anyway, getting back to the Chiefs and the premise of this video, they've earned the right. They earned the right to rest. The Broncos are a good team. I know they got shellacked by the Bills, but they were still a good team, and they deserve to make it. All these Bengals fans, they say that we deserve to be here. No, we don't. Even non-Bengals fans, I'm sure, was saying that, but no, we don't. Our franchise and our team, we invent new ways to lose in the most creative way possible. You don't think if you held on to a 10-point lead against the Ravens in the first matchup, we could have made the playoffs? You don't think if we, even though I think it was an egregious call by the refs, if we don't blow a 21-7 lead in Baltimore, you don't think we make the playoffs? We don't shoot ourselves in the foot against New England. If McPherson knew how to make a kick against the Chargers. I mean, so many things did not tilt our way, but even if our defense got a stop against the Commanders, I want to blame it on luck, but I also want to this team should be ashamed. They had so many chances to have something tilt their favor, and they didn't do it. No one's more hard on the refs than I am, but I can't blame them fully for this. This is ridiculous. This was a ridiculous start to the season, 1-4, with quarterback and wide receiver putting up these type of numbers. Didn't beat a winning team until the last 2 weeks of the season. So I think it's ridiculous for Bengals fans to say we deserve to be here. No. I mean, our fans deserve it. Don't get me wrong. The city deserves it. But the team, no. They don't deserve it. Joe Burrow deserves it. Jamar Chase deserves it. Trey Hendrickson deserves it. Tee Higgins deserves it. Chase Brown, I would say, deserves it. I can't argue anybody else, to be honest with you. So, I want to talk about, some of my favorite highlights and wins of the season. I mean, the way we won that Cowboys game, that's something that I love to see, especially the way we won that game. I mean, we got our punt block, let's not forget, and then I forgot who it was that touched it, but someone on their team touched the ball, and then we got the ball again, and then we drove down the field with Jamar Chase, and obviously scored a game-winning touchdown. And yeah, we won that game. And then also, I mean, one thing that I will take with me and hold on to it this season, I mean, we did sweep the Browns. That's always a good time. We swept them for the first time since 2017. In-state rivals, I mean, Browns are just, they're a rival of the Bengals. Everybody knows that, and they've also given us so much trouble over the last few years. Browns fans, like we can at least bond over the Cavs and Buckeyes because I love those teams too, and I know you guys, majority of you guys are also Cavs Buckeyes fans, so we can bond over that. But respectfully, I just don't like your football team. I mean, they're rivals first of all, and second of all, they just had our number over the last few years. So anytime you sweep them, I mean that's always a good time. And you know, Week 17 against the Broncos, I mean that's a no-brainer. I was there in person to witness that thriller, and we kept our playoff hopes alive. It was a memorable game. I mean, it was fun to kind of, go into that last week at least, like, okay, it all comes down to 1 week at least. And then Week 18 against the Steelers, I mean, that was a stressful game, a game that, our playoff hopes were hanging in the balance. And if you would have told me that we would have got eliminated by the Steelers in Week 18, I would have puked, to be honest with you. I would rather get eliminated by the Chiefs losing a game than get eliminated by the Steelers. If we got eliminated by the Steelers, the chatter would have been like, man, our season's over. And this is the last team that I would want it to end against. I'm glad we got that win. I'm glad we at least finished with a winning record, because not only will we not finish with a winning record, but we lose again to that team to end our season. I mean, they've already ended our season twice in my lifetime, once in my fandom. That would have been gross. But we continued their losing streak, obviously, to 4 games, and they got shellacked in the first round. So still haven't won a playoff game since 2016, but that was still one of my favorite wins of the season. And Pro Bowlers, obviously Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase. Joe Burrow should have been All-Pro. I have no idea why he wasn't. Those AP voters got to get there. They got to get something checked. I don't know what's going on. Burrow should have been on that team. If Chase was there, and I love Jamar Chase. Chase, in my opinion, had a better individual season, but Joe Burrow should have made that team. I don't care what anybody says. But Trey Hendrickson, obviously, he should be Defensive Player of the Year, in my opinion. And I could see them giving it to someone that hasn't won it, so I could see him winning it possibly. I respect guys like Myles Garrett. I respect guys like TJ Watt, but I really think this guy should have won it, or should win it. So we'll just see what happens with that. But again, these are all individual accolades. In terms of the team overall, I stopped caring about QB rankings and all that. So Joe Burrow is obviously my favorite quarterback, but this team needs to win. This team needs to win, and that will help him also get talked about more. So a lot of stuff to clean up on the defensive side of the ball. A lot of stuff to clean up on even the offensive play calling early on in the season. I mean, that was the reason we lost those first 2 games. I mean, the defense played pretty good. These are still some of my favorite wins of the season, but obviously there are some challenges that came with it as well. I mean, 6 games they lost by 1 score. The first Steelers game, I wouldn't really count that though, because, we were playing catch up pretty much the entire second half. The lack of depth, especially on the offensive line, the cornerback room, and yeah, you could blame some of that on Daxo's injury, but I don't know, some guys just need to step up. I mean, CTB, he stepped up towards the end of the season, so that's at least some positive that I like. Jordan Battle was also, I believe he was hurt in that last game, but I thought that he played pretty good. Still, a 4-8 record heading to Week 13, and most of those losses were because of our defense. I mean, the offense gave us so many chances to win a lot of those games, and then, it's impossible for them to be perfect. I don't expect them to be perfect. I mean, yeah, Burrow threw an interception against the Ravens to Marlon Humphrey, I believe it was. Don't matter. I mean, no quarterback's perfect. Maybe you put the ball in his hands in overtime, and then you don't have to worry about McPherson shanking another field goal. The gut wrench of this season was so much that I'm not even, I'm less mad about them missing the playoffs, but I'm happy to see that at least we ended the right way. 5 straight wins to close out the year. That's something that I'm happy about, but it's at the same time, it's why couldn't you have at least done this early on in the season? Because we could be arguably winning the division if some of these games tilted our way. We could be competing for possibly a 2 seed or maybe even a 1 seed, dare I say, even though the Chiefs are way ahead of us. So I don't know. I mean, it just feels like a missed opportunity for them not being in this playoffs. And I know some of these games have just been atrocious. I mean, the Broncos-Bills was bad. Chargers-Texans was terrible. Steelers-Ravens was not competitive. Bucks-Commanders was good too, but that's the NFC. So, Packers-Eagles was also decent. But again, NFC. But yeah, it's just it sucks to not have them in the playoffs. But they have no one to blame, like I said. They have no one to blame but themselves. That's all that is to it. But, here's some changes that I think that we need to make as a franchise, as a team. And I think that's going to bode well. Go out and make a move. Defensive coordinator. O-line coach from outside. Don't promote your guys. Add some depth on that secondary. Add some depth on that offensive line. Offensive line I thought was good, and then they just collapsed with injuries. And then Alex Kappa had a career bad year. Cordell Volson got benched. Orlando Brown was in and out of the lineup as well. So there were just so many shifts on the O-line, and that's why I say it's important to get depth. When this O-line is healthy, it's pretty good, I would say. But you got to go out and make a move for defensive coordinator, offensive line coach, defensive assistants, or I don't know. You got to go outside, and I know that we're in talks with Matt Eifers. I don't know if that's going to work out. Obviously, my ideal candidate would be Robert Saleh. I don't think that's going to happen. I just feel like that would be the dream scenario. But, I honestly, and I hate to say this because, Marvin Lewis was kind of in the same position as last year as head coach, but I remember Marvin Lewis, he fired Terrell Austin, and then Marvin Lewis got fired. But, Zach has done a good job, I would say, but he has a lot of control over the organization. I mean, he picks the players, he himself said that those were not easy decisions to make, but he made them. So I feel like the team wants him to stick around. If there's one thing to be positive about Zach, I mean, he has built a good culture, but he just needs to hold his guys accountable, I feel like. I mean, yeah, the coaches are definitely, they were an issue. I won't lie to you. They were definitely an issue, but I put a lot of that on the players. They got to step up. Coaches got to get the best of them. We just have a lot of work to do. And then obviously agent talk and everything. I mean, we got to extend Chase and Higgins. They have the same agent now. That's a good thing. But at the end of the day, get it done. Make some moves. Have an aggressive free agency approach. Have that same kind of mentality that you had in 2021. Even 2022, even though the main things that we did was add to that offensive line. We added a tight end as well. But 2021, I mean, that was when we went all out. And I know it's a lot easier to go all out on rookie contracts and all that, but there has to be something. I mean, you got to clear up some space. Some guys, they got to go. Let's face it. I know that a lot of people want to hold on to Sam Hubbard because, his Cincinnati, Ohio connection is obviously a former Buckeye as well. I don't know. I don't think he just obviously didn't have a great season at all. And you got to retain, obviously, Trey Hendrickson. Hopefully Logan Wilson comes back fully healthy to start the year as well. I think that defense has a lot of upside to it, but some guys, man, I just think they've been given too much of a chance. I hate making videos on, like, who we should target because it's like they're all hypotheticals. The problem with this team is, like, sometimes they just don't take that next level, that next step. And that's my biggest concern. I mean, are we going to really go all out on free agency? Or are we just going to rely on the end of the season, like, 5-game winning streak? Because if we do, I don't see this team being any better next year. Regardless of the coaching changes, regardless of their head coach, regardless of what they have from their offense, I don't see it. It may not be the same way, but we will go, I would say, 8-9, 9-8 again. So we have a lot of work to do. This fan base will not stand for a third straight non-playoff team with this roster. Last year, I get it. Last year, I'll give them a pass. Burrow got hurt, and they figured it out. They made their way to 9 wins, got 4 wins, I would say 3 straight, and then 4 wins by beating the Browns at the end of the season. But yeah, you got to add the depth. You got to go out, make some coaching hires. Just operate in a different way than you have in the past. Because let's be honest, what have you won? A conference title. That's it. First of all, you need sustained success. I mean, 2 playoff seasons, 2 great seasons, 2 memorable seasons for Bengals fans. But you need consistent success, and you got to get that Lombardi somehow. If Joe Burrow doesn't get a Lombardi with Cincinnati, it's a complete failure. He needs a Lombardi in his career here. So figure it out. You have a killer on offense. 3 killers, I would say. And you got a monster killer on defensive side of the ball. You've got some potential monsters as well. But figure it out. So have an aggressive approach. Have a move in mind that, okay, yeah, we're going to do this, and we're going to go all in on that. I love what Duke Tobin said in 2023. Like he said, when I think the Chargers called about Tee Higgins, he basically just said, get your own. Have that same mindset. Maybe we'll be a better team. So, quick dump off, man. I mean, because this is just gut-wrenching. It's like, I always ask, like, towards the end of the season, it's like, would I rather get eliminated earlier in the season? So it's not built up hope and, I guess, if you want to call it heartbreak. But then I realized, how fun it is to, play in games that, matter and watch your team play in games that have at least some stakes to it. So that's something that I'm a little proud of this team for. I mean, look, I have higher standards for this team. For me, it's always championship or bust. If I don't sit here and root for my teams to go all the way, no matter how bad they're projected to be, no matter if the Reds also are like, if they somehow just don't make a single move in the free agency period and they end up going 77, 85, or whatever they go, I'll still root for them to win the World Series. That's how I approach every season. May not expect it, may not, think it's going to happen because I'm a real fan. I tell it how it is. That's how fandom works here. If they make a deep run, I'm like, okay, great season. I'm proud of it. But especially since the Bengals have been there now, it's like, it'll hurt to not be back there and win it. 2021, it was gut wrenching. We lost, but it was a hell of a season. We did a great job. We'll be back. We almost came back the next year. So, you gotta figure it out, man. But anyway, prove that you're all in. Start addressing the priorities that matter. In my opinion, the issues, they're so much more glaring and obvious, so I feel like they will address it. And you guys got to know, there's no replacing great stars. That's not going to happen. They tried so hard to replace Jesse Bates. They let so many guys go in free agency. Or not so many guys, but they tried to replace even Cheeto, who, I don't blame him for that because, he was obviously coming off an ACL and all that. But some of these guys are not replaceable, man. So, in my opinion, the last 3 years, the holes and the glaring that got a little bit masked, and it was like a layer over it because we were winning. We finished with a winning record, yeah, but I feel like the way that we started the year, the issues are so glaring, and that's why I feel like these coaches made these changes. So that's a good thing. That's a good sign, good start, but a lot more to go. A lot more to go, and Zach also needs to look himself in the mirror and tell him, how am I going to start the season off right? And that's what I'm saying. It's cost us the last 2 years. Figure out these early season struggles. I know there was a report that he's going to try to change their prep and whatnot. I don't know what the deal is with that. It may not be the right thing to say because I don't know what their prep is, and I've never heard a team come out and say that. But if it works, man, I'm happy to hear it that he's at least doing that. But I'm tired of just. The winning masks. It cures a lot of things, but to be honest, I'm tired of just coming on here and just patting them on the back for at least finishing the season right. I'm happy. 5 straight wins. How can you not be happy? But I'm not happy about the season overall, missing the playoffs. Regardless if it was by 1 game, regardless if we thought our season was over after the Steelers loss when we dropped to 4-8, you never want to not make the playoffs, especially with a team that has this expectation. Look at this. The Steelers, they ended the season with 5 straight losses. They made the playoffs. We need to start. If we have a decent start to open the season, we finish ahead of these guys. It's just that they started so fast and they got going right out of the gate. If we could do that, we're a better team. We and the Ravens can compete for the top spot. But just the way some of these games went, man, it's defeating. So figure the early season struggles out. Figure out what changes we need to make to not go into the season feeling less confident. Because, I feel like last year we kind of expected, them to lay an egg against the Browns, in week 1, if you recall. The Browns just have our number, at the time. They had our number. Now, obviously, we swept them this year, but they had our number going into last year as well. You kind of expected that, and even the Steelers game, it's a rival, so you can, Burrow was coming off appendix surgery a couple years ago, but other than Joe Burrow's wrist injury, still, losing to the Patriots in week 1, not only did that cost our playoff spot, but that cost them the number 1 overall pick. You gotta figure it out, man. I don't know what we have to do to figure out these slow starts, but figure it out. But anyway, some final thoughts though. I love watching this team. I love this team. I'm not gonna be as invested throughout these playoffs. I'll do previews and everything, but it hurts not being able to see this team, man. So I'll still watch some games, but not as invested, obviously, without this team in there. In 5 years of Joe Burrow's career, we made it twice. Probably would have been 3 times last year, obviously, if he wasn't hurt. But should have been this year. But, we just had some bad breaks. So hopefully we get some things tilting in our direction and we can help ourselves by having a good offseason. So love this team. Focus now shifts to the Cleveland Cavs and the Ohio State Buckeyes. This will probably be my last Bengals video for quite a bit. Probably for, I would say, unless they make some drastic move or whatever, I would say probably free agency. If it's a within hire, if it's even an outside hire, it's I can give you my general thoughts, but I don't think I'm going to come on here and maybe talk about his successful tenures and whatnot. But I'll definitely have my thoughts. I'll share it in a community post and whatnot. But as far as Bengals content videos, I don't think I'll be making it, to be honest, that much. But my focus now shifts to the Cavs and the Buckeyes, as it did last year on this time. I hope you guys have a great, terrific off season of stress-free time. If you're a Bengals fan, You deserve it. I don't know if you guys support the same teams I do. Like if you support the Reds, that's baseball's coming up in a couple months. I believe there's exactly a month until pitchers and catchers report. So that's exciting. Then maybe it won't be stress-free because the Reds, we all know what the Reds like to do to us. But you're a Buckeyes fan. We got one more victory, man. One more ultimate victory. I'll have my Notre Dame preview out soon. One more victory a week from today. And the Cavs, man, best record in the league. An awful loss to the Pacers. We shot 25% from three. That was ridiculous. But still, best record in the league. Best record in the East. So that's always great. And that's where my focus shifts now, man. I'll have some content out for that. And obviously I'll get the picks in, the Super Bowl picks, the conference championship, divisional round, everything in that. But Bengals, it's going to be a couple months. It's going to be a bit until, if I want to give you my general thoughts, I might drop in a video maybe about like NFL in general or Bengals in general. But as far as like updates and everything like this season, I just don't see myself making that for a couple months now. So we'll see what happens with that. But anyway, hope you guys have a great one. Who Day as always.